Hello there and welcome to the Makwanas Podcast. My name is Nikita Makwana and sitting beside me is my husband and my co-host Mompoloki Makwana.
Yes, thank you so much for hosting us, our First Lady. I really appreciate it, and what a wonderful time to be here. It's quite a wonderful place, and we really liked it, but we have to make a podcast. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So when we were coming on our way here, you talked about relationship building. I really loved the conversation and just intentionality. So I thought that this is something that we should bring to the podcast. I remember when we were looking at the Makwanas Podcast, we're trying to really find out like what are we going to talk about and what should our podcast really focus on. What is it that when people click and say we are looking at the Makwanas Podcast, what are they going to get from this podcast? And just having conversations with you as my husband, as my friend, as my prayer partner, there are a lot of take homes. I mean, a lot of amazing things that I learned from you. And today you talked about intentionality and relationship building, something that I feel someone out there would love to hear. And by the way, when you listen to my husband, he's a professional development coach and he gets paid for speaking. So I really had to ask him like, hey, can you please share this right here in the Makwanas Podcast so that people can benefit from that?
Yes, thank you so much. You know, one of the things that we take for granted is connecting with people. And, you know, most of the time we are born and then we find ourselves in a community. And then after that, what happens is that we do what? We die. And then we pass away. The same people we went to school with are the same people who know us. And that is like, you have done what you have done. I remember you did this and stuff like that. But one of the things we take for granted is cultivating the intentionality to build networks, to connect with people beyond just your surrounding, to connect with people beyond your community, beyond your country, beyond your continent. And I believe that when we are able to be intentional about finding people that we need in our lives, not just for our businesses, not just for tomorrow maybe you can sponsor my thing. No, just the heart to want to be a people's person. The heart to have the love for people. And I think most of the time our relationship building have attachments to what? They have attachments to what I can get. They have attachments to what potentially they can get something from this person. When was the last time? Write on the comment box. When was the last time you connected with people solely because you just love people? Not because tomorrow
they can get.
They can get a job. Hey, see Mr. Makwana, tomorrow he may give you a job. It's the language we do. We are encouraging transactional connection. Just connect with people, just God loving us and loving us the way he loves unconditionally. Just to say, I love people, and when I see you, I give you heart-to-heart conversation because I can see you. You know, I see you. You are a person, and I appreciate you for who you are. For me, that's the introduction of this topic that I want us to debunk and just to have conversations around. I know there are issues of gut holding. People say, I'm protecting myself from people. I know that cutting people off. There's so many elements to it. But for me, in this introduction is, when was the last time where you looked at people and say, I just want to intentionally love people. I just want to intentionally reach out to people.
To build relationships
that are genuine. If I can benefit anything from that, it will be a bonus. When was the last time we did that? So for me, I want us to talk about that intentionality to want to build relationships that are genuine, that are based on care, that are based on love, that are based on true consideration for the next person. And we know that people can disappoint. We know that people can let you down. But first, before we think about the letdowns and stuff like that, let's have the heart to want to seek to build those kind of relationships.
Wow, I actually find that to be very amazing. I love that because you know that when you are born, you do not choose your parents. You find yourself in a certain family, and it's not something that you can change. But when you grow up, you recognize that you are the one who decides the size of your family. whether you want your family to just end at blood relation, or you want to build basically
Beyond.
a huge beyond your blood relations. So the first thing that came to my mind when you're talking about that, I started thinking about the relationships that I've managed to build, of course, with the help of God, because I think that building a relationship is not as easy as maybe we think about it. There are a lot of things that we need to consider. Just like when you're building a house, you need to get tools, like you need to get yourself some cement, you need to buy windows, you need to buy the gravel. There are a whole lot of things that you need to do for you to build a house. And I believe that with the relationship building as well, when you're extending or you're expanding your family, there are a lot of things that you can consider. One of them being trust, loyalty, and understanding that feedback sometimes is not as pleasant as you want it to be. Feedback can be unpleasant, and those are some of the things that when we're building a relationship we have to consider. So I really want you to touch on that. What do people really need, coach, to build?
Wow, really? Yes, the coach card has been pulled here now.
To build relationships, really, I think that having conversations with you, like I said, when I started, is every time I speak to you, there is something that I pick, and a lot of things that we talk about in the house. I implement them even at work, and I can see how they are, they become so beneficial to me, and that is why I'm so intentional about you really talking about it, and I believe that is going to help someone out there. So what do people need to build relationships?
Okay. Number one, I think before I can go even into that number one thing is the consciousness that you are an intercultural strategist, and you help people to connect, even though you were looking for names like people connect on stuff like that to share more at your business, International Language Hub. I'm mindful that you are someone who even do it better than I do.
Why do I feel like you're gonna throw it to me?
I'm throwing it to you. Even better than I can do it,
right,
because I've realized that even when we go for a seminar or a webinar, most of the time people come to me already. I don't have time to say, I want to meet that person. When I step out of the podium, it's like, Mr. Makwana, I want this. Then it's a line to me. You get. But for you, it's like, Daddy's done with the presentation. Now I'm about to connect with people, and you reach out to people. And I acknowledge it even from our last public speaking masterclass, where even we were talking about, understanding intercultural competence in public speaking, right? And you were still emphasizing on the human connection as a speaker, as a presenter, just connecting with people. And beyond that, then after the event, you went on to intentionally connect with other people. And I was telling you, you are really great with that. And I feel like the way we work, we really complement each other very well, that in such kind of a conference, I think of the next time we go for the Dubai conferences, we go to Johannesburg conferences, it becomes easier for you more to connect and build relationships.
From a cultural perspective,
not even from cultural perspective. I've seen you work with people maybe just like people just come and say, I'm looking for a job. Can I please clean in your yard and stuff like that? And the way you receive them is different than I would receive them. And I feel like that is a different level of insight that you bring into just dealing with people. And for me, even if before you say it, can you kindly maybe introduce the spirituality part of it and how you look at someone sometimes even before they talk to you, maybe that they have a challenge or stuff like that, and you are able to relate from that, and then you bring it to the cultural perspective part of it.
That's part before you.
Yes.
We actually were having this amazing conversation, and I was really looking forward to him having the discussion. Now he threw it back to me, to my plate. Maybe just to give you a quick introduction, I am an intercultural strategist and coach. I'm also a foreign language instructor, or I teach Chinese to be precise. So in my work basically deals with connecting people from various cultural contexts. I help the Chinese to be able to stay in Botswana, first-time visitors to be able to stay in Botswana and be able to thrive. I help Botswana to travel to other countries and to be able to thrive, to be themselves, to exercise their skills.
Through the Go Global.
Through the Go Global program. So it's something that I do professionally. Foreign language acquisition, intercultural competence, cultural intelligence, etc. So I think that, like he said, these build they play a massive role in how you interact with people. I'll give you an example. I've been in the field of Chinese language for almost a decade now, 10 years. I've worked with the Chinese for that long, and it has helped me to relate with the Chinese with ease, with understanding, with, is it empathy or sympathy?
Empathy
is empathy, like where you feel for people. There are a lot of things that maybe when somebody like you at home, you look at the Chinese and like, why do these people do this? Why is it these people, they are not doing something well? And there are things that maybe when you do, the Chinese are looking at you and they're like, hey, you're not doing something well. Yesterday, I actually did a video when I was talking about certain stereotypes, like Botswana are lazy. And I was discussing, talking about factors that contribute to culture. Why do people behave a certain way? Instead of just looking at people and judging them and thinking that what they do is wrong, we need to always go back to understanding their culture and know that culture is something that you learn over time. And circumstances around you, they influence you to behave in a certain way, to speak in a certain way. So basically there is some kind of, should I say, a software that is put inside of you, and that the software begins from right the moment you are born, the way you are raised, from now how you are raised at school to now when you go to the university, in the community. You know, the environment around you influences how you think, how you behave, how you approach situations. And as an intercultural strategist, these are the things that when you travel abroad or when you want to build relationships with people from various cultural contexts, and don't only think about international, think also that even as Botswana, right here in Botswana, we have ethnic groups, and sometimes we have what we call conflicts, tribal conflicts. So these result from the existing differences in our culture. Now, that is actually, maybe I've discussed much about it on the cultural context. So working with people and having the background that I have, it really helps me to interact with people from that perspective, understanding that we are different and being able to embrace the differences that we have as a people. So that really has helped me. Now, you also talked about my reception towards people. I think that when we look at people now, I think we are going back to relationship building. We need to understand that people are different and people are from different backgrounds. And sometimes how they talk and how they present something is modest, just that the voice may be rough. I give you an example. I'm one of the people that when I communicate with people, there's like, hey man, you are so direct, you are so bold, and you are so, it's because of my background. I don't hold back, but I'll also try my best to understand that sometimes that can come out as, harsh. As harsh. Yes, as harsh and as rough, and sometimes as confrontational. I know that, and I try sometimes to understand how I receive other people and how I communicate so that somebody does not really take offense in what I say. Let me be clear here. It doesn't mean when I understand how you work and how you do things, I always have to bend to how you do things. Like I always say, culture is not only received, but you also give culture. I can understand how you do things and I can embrace you the way you are, but it is also on your part to embrace how I am. So I don't only receive culture, I give culture.
So relationship is a two-way.
Relationship is a two-way thing. And as an intercultural expert, what I would say is that building your cultural competence, it helps you to build solid relationships. You don't work with people from, should I say, a narrow perspective. You have the mindset that my way is not always the way, or my way is not always the right way. So I think that from the cultural part, that's just how much I can discuss it.
All right. I wanted to tap into expanding beyond the cultural aspect, but also for me, maybe let me bring it home to the layman's terms of connecting with people. I think for me is the having the placing value on human life is very crucial. so that even from any point where people are approaching you and when you see people and you want to connect with them, you want to work with them, just first, before thinking of transaction, before thinking of what we can get from that particular person, just placing value on people's life and understanding that this is a human being who carries emotions that can be different from me, who carries perspectives that may be different from me. And now you meet the person as a person, because sometimes we create a room to insult, to blame, to complain, because we meet someone as a CEO, we meet someone as a manager, we meet someone as a business person, we meet someone as a Chinese language instructor like yourself. We meet someone as the thank you so much for wonderful food. We meet someone as the unmatched coach. So at the end of the day, we now debate and shoot bullets from that point of, you are a minister, you are a president, you are a cabinet member. And then when that is replaced by, you are a brother first, you are a sister first, you are a human being before your profession. So for me, when we think of relationship that way, we will stop now connecting for profession. We will stop connecting for what we can get.
For profit.
We will stop connecting for profit. So we connect from a point of, I see you and I see you, Ubuntu, the spirit of Ubuntu. The better you is the better me. So now when we operate from that element, when we operate from that consciousness, it puts us in a space where we're able to establish genuine relationship. For me, first is as the value we place on human life. The value placed on your life, the value placed on your kids, the same appreciation and the same heartfelt connection and emotional that we need to carry when we connect with other people, so that even when they do any mistake, they are people. Even when they mess up, they are people. When they disappoint, they are people. Am I saying allow just people to do however the way they wish? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying as we approach them as people, our standards of what we have for them becomes different. It's not like, oh, as the CEO, I never thought a CEO can do that.
Yeah.
A person can do that.
Yeah.
And this is a person like your mom, your father, your friend. So as we connect with people first, they are people. And then from there, I think now, when we move from the introduction aspect of connecting from seeing a person as a person, we can expand it more to talk about now, believe in people, what they show you.
Yeah.
Right? Now they are people, right? And we appreciate them as individuals. Now, let's believe what people show us. And most of the time, we now carry these hurt feelings. We now carry this grudge. We now carry this anger. Because after appreciating people as people, now you took it the wrong way to say you believe you can change them. You believe you can transform them. You were accepting them as people because I just said so. Now you are saying, oh no, but they should behave the way I should behave. They should change the way I should change them. Now you are moving from now accepting them as they are, and now moving from now you put yourself in a space where you want to become God in people's life, transforming people's life. Now we have so many people, as we are talking about, they say, hey, people don't trust people. I know you want to comment that. Don't comment that. People, you can't trust people. People, you never know people, because I'm teaching them now that you never know people. You do this, but people show you cues, people show you clues, people show you signals of who you are, who they are. And once you accept them for who they are, you relate with them from a place of knowledge, and you relate from a place of understanding. So now you cultivate the understanding to get to understand the person.
Absolutely.
To get to understand before the transaction, before whatever you can ask, understanding the people. And now let's talk about the element now. As we connect with people, there are certain signals they show. There are certain signs they show. And because we believe in people, we have the heart for people, we want to give them another chance. And another chance. And another chance. And sooner or later, they are becoming the master lords of heartbreakers, while we are becoming the receivers of the heartbreaks. And now we are dealing with the place of hurt.
Yeah. Right. Mr. Makwana, that's, isn't it amazing?
It is.
That's great. So you talked about relating with people for what you can get and not really being a good thing. I think generally when you want to, people know when you come to them because you want to get something from them. People can see, people can tell. That's just how, as human beings, we are created. Even sometimes when somebody says, I did a lot for this person. It's not that. When you're communicating about it, you are talking like, I didn't see it
coming.
Sorry, excuse me. Yes, I didn't see it coming. But in most cases, you saw it, but you didn't believe it. You're like, oh, let me give people the benefits of the doubt. Let me just start the relationship on a clean slate. So what I know is that people, when you relate with people because you want to get something from them, they know. And sometimes they allow you to do that, not because they are dumb. Because, sometimes when I'm being nice to people, they feel like, hey, I can use this person. I've actually seen a post some time ago, a couple of weeks ago on Facebook. Someone was saying that sometimes when you have like nice people helping you, you might think that you are using them. But that's who they are. They are being nice, and they're not losing. They're not losing a thing. So really, I think that people have it in them to recognize when you want to start a relationship with them for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And we know when someone does not have our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And because we are people who just want to give people chances and all this, but I think that in life, we have to learn to set boundaries. Yeah, you have to set boundaries, because if you don't set boundaries, you are always going to be at the receiving end of hate. You are going to be resentful, and you are going to find yourself in a position now where, when the opportunity for building real relationships, genuine relationships, divine relationships, you are not able to connect because
your bank account is
zero, and you have allowed you have allowed hate, you have harbored on the hate, and you just refused to accept that things were not working for you, and some people were just not.
Yes.
They were just not for you. So basically, that's just how I will, that's just how I would look at it, and that's how I will talk about it. Yeah. But then also understanding that, going back to the culture issue, we need to understand that cultures differ from one country to another. I give you an example. In Botswana, we are very intentional about relationship building, right? And you have to relate with people just because in other cultures, you don't greet people in the streets. I've been to China myself. I didn't have people smiling at me. I didn't have people saying Dumelan to me.
The same applied with Finland. When I was in Finland, 2015.
Yeah.
They're just reserved, and they're okay with that. Unless maybe they say hi, then you just engage, and they want to have a conversation.
Yeah, so some people actually, in other countries, they get scared when you start greeting them and you start giving yourself away. So you recognize that even the culture of giving yourself away, it comes from our culture as Botswana, of caring about people and opening doors for people, embracing the spirit of both. But in other countries, it doesn't work like that. Like I always say, when I train my clients, when you work with the Chinese people and you're working with Botswana people, you're working with different people and people who look at relationship differently.
Yeah.
Giving you an example, when you want to do business with Chinese people, you don't come and say, I have this wonderful, amazing juice that was made from this kind of orange from whatever place, and you talk about how natural the fruit is, all this background that you give. You don't come to the Chinese people to pitch a product, and then tada, the transaction happens. In China, you first build relationships, what we call guanxi. I always talk about the concept of guanxi. Guanxi simply means relationship. They build a relationship with you to see who you are. Sometimes they even offer you alcohol, and it's very impolite to say no to the alcohol, So you have to drink the alcohol. And then after some time, after they build a relationship, they now trust you. Business trust, like they trust that they can do business with you. That's when the transaction can happen. So relationship building precedes transactions. That's something that if you're going to get into business with the Chinese people, you need to be aware of. However, you also need to understand that in most Asian cultures, business means business. It's not like maybe what happens here with most people. After we do some business together, now after a couple of months, you can visit me at my house. business ends at the office, it ends at the web seminar. And if you are going to talk, we are going to keep it professional that way. There's nothing like, hey, people don't go to people's houses. They meet at a certain place for meetings and all this. So these are things that are existing in the culture. And you recognize that sometimes you carry that culture ya Motswana, utsena ka yone mo relationship, utsena ka yone mo business, and then you find yourself being heartbroken, being disappointed, calling someone who is only a colleague, a friend, and they don't consider you a friend, they consider you a colleague, because in their culture, it's clear, work is work. To you, you feel like so because we work together, something at your house, you invite them. You can have those gestures, but it's important to understand it's important to understand people's backgrounds. You need to understand the background of people. How does this person think? Who am I to this person? So that you can also know where to place someone in your life. You don't want to think that your colleague is your friend, only to find that you are their colleague, not their friend. Because, of course, that's going to cause a heartbreak. You're going to invest resources and so many other things. So I think that when we build relationships, we need to be mindful of these things, understand how sometimes your own culture also sabotages you when it comes to relationship building. Understand how also you can use the techniques of just being nice to people. I've actually seen being a Motswana helping me when I'm dealing with people like, oh, Nikita, you're so nice. And I'm like, really? Because I was raised that way. That's how I'm supposed to treat people. And because people feel like you're a nice person, they want to do business with you. And sometimes actually in other countries, being nice, people don't trust you. Like, why are you being soft? They're talking about money here. Yeah. So basically, I think that's just how I wanted to go about it.
Okay. Yeah. I think from my point of view, in conclusion, it would be beyond just understanding culturally, self-awareness, and you being a heart-to-heart, the interest to value human life. One of the things that people think people don't consider for them is the lack of communication. The ability to communicate your expectations is very, very important. Uncommunicated expectations leads to bold, frustrating moments. So it's very, very important that now and then we are conscious that we communicate our expectations. We communicate that which we want, because some people silently drag themselves for 2 years and say, I've been silent for the past 2 years. It's not helping you to balla. Because at the end of the day, you're going to count your heads at the end of the day. So the ability to communicate expectations and to be able to be clear about what you won't tolerate, the boundaries that you are setting. Talk about boundaries in our own, the boundaries that you are setting in any relationship, whether it's professional or personal. This is very important so that people know how far they can ask. People know how far they are allowed to go by setting these boundaries. And at the end of the day, we realize that we are able to eliminate some intentions that people have when we are at the forefront initially on our interaction, when we connect with people from the initial interaction and be able to say, as Mompoloki Makwana, I really value what you do. I like your experiences. I like the way you spend your leisure time. I enjoy how you take off your business time. I enjoy how you take off your employees or how you work with your colleagues. We can take away the best from people when we show from the get-go in our expectations, when we explain what the expectations we have for those kind of relationships are. So that also when we say, warinka paying the bill, it's not a surprise. From the get-go, we have conversation. You know what I tolerate. You know what I stand for. Spirituality, you know what I believe in. I believe in God. You told me your religion. So I'm not going to get a text because we do business. Tomorrow you're inviting me to a certain places under the tree somewhere, someone living there with the bushes, and you can't even see if it's a person or not. That's not what I'm going to tolerate. So relationship building is deeper than that. And I feel like as we continue with this podcast, we are going to share more and more aspects of relationships that are going to be separate. Sometimes we're going to talk about communications. Sometimes we're going to talk about insecurities. We are going to talk about a lot of topics that pertains and that connects to relationships. This is just, I feel for me, a basic, beautiful introduction of relationship building from the cultural aspect. Yes, and we'll touch more on it in the coming time.
Wonderful. I think that while we are still there, I will touch on something that it sounds like a cliche. Forgiveness liberates.
Yeah.
We have to learn to forgive. When you are building relationships with people, you do not measure the quality of a relationship by okay, let me say we are not fighting in this relationship, so that's a genuine relationship. You can differ, and it's okay to differ. It's okay to tell someone that, well, I didn't like the way that you treated me. I didn't like the way you didn't meet this requirement. Maybe
expression of displeasure.
Exactly. Expression of displeasure is okay. And understand that I talked about building and expanding families when I was starting this conversation. So I have my own experience of having an extended family. Let me give you an example. I grew up in Kasani. So when I left home when I was pretty young. I've been growing further and further from my home. When I finished standard 7, I went to the boarding school, Form 1 to Form 3, Form 4 to Form 5. It was the same thing. Now I moved to the University of Botswana. From the University of Botswana straight to China. And when I came, I stayed in Gaborone, from Gaborone to Maung to Palau. It's been a journey, and I've been growing further and further and further from home. What has helped me to stay in course is God, and also the relationships that I have built, or the families that I've built for myself. Think about it. I'm a girl child. I moved from Kasani. I come to Gaborone. I don't have biological parents in Gaborone, so it means that I have to find myself family. And I was fortunate because I was going to Lighthouse in Kasani branch, and when I came to Gaborone, I held on to my pastor here, Bishop Noah Muzeya, and his amazing wife, Stella Muzeya. They are the people they were my parents away from home. They're the people that were taking care of me. Basically, they were holding me. I was accountable to them, and sometimes in that relationship, they'll rebuke me.
Yeah.
And they'll be I felt like, they're being hard or they're being tough on me. There were times they gave me a feedback that I didn't like. And I felt like, king, you know what, I'm hurt. I didn't like it. But because I was intentional about building relationship, and I noticed that these people really care about me.
They meant well for you.
They meant well for me.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to not take offense when I'm given a feedback that I don't like. When, someone wants me to account for my bad behavior. When I make a mistake, someone comes and says, Nikita, this is not good. And sometimes you are rebuked like that in front of, others. And you're like, Daddy, why are you doing this to me? Mommy, why are you doing this to me? So I think we need to understand that relationship, when we are building relationship and expanding our relationships, we are coming into people's lives. It's not only people coming to ours. And when we do so, we find that there are rules and regulations that make standards that they have, that makes them who they are, the people that we like them as, what makes us to admire them, their habits that they have, the practices and the values that they have. So those things, you don't come into people's lives and then you start breaching them. Let me give you an example. If I came there, I knew that when I'm staying with them at Block 8, I have to tell them where I'm going.
Yeah.
Where are you going? I'm going to school.
Yeah.
What time are you going to come back? They knew what time I'm coming back, and I have to be home. Right?
Yeah, by that time.
By that time.
And communicate.
Please, That's how things work. In that house. And because I've recognized that, there are a lot of things that I could learn from that house, it was okay for me to submit to protocols that are there, and to understand that really when I come to look at it today, I appreciate the times that they shouted at me, the times that they rebuked me. And I have always been intentional about that. Every time I go somewhere, I find people that I learn from, that hold me accountable. Not really that I can't take care of myself, but people take care of people. That's what you need to know. So even when I traveled to China, I did the same. I went to Life Word, and then I sat under the teaching of Prophet Visu. When I moved from Gaborone, I was in Palap. I made sure that I sat under the teaching of Apostle David Grace. Yeah. That's just how it goes. And I got married, I moved, and then now I'm in Royal Assemblies. I learn the teachings there, I learn from you. So I feel like when we are looking forward to building relationships, let us be aware of this. When you go into people's lives, or you admire people, you want to be a part of them, or you want to learn their excellence, you should be looking forward also to get the feedback that is tough.
And
so
the
I think
adjustment
and
to protocols and standards those people live by.
Yeah.
Because firsthand you see them interested in their lives. Yeah. Because at the back of that is the habits, systems, and practices they do that makes them who
excellent.
They are. And coming into that life, you can just come then to just mess up how they do things and stuff like that. And you're
Absolutely.
like, no, people are not opening up. We're not saying submit to abuse. We're not saying that. We're not saying submit to people who are terrorizing, but understand that every relationship, it will demand you a level of discipline and a level of submission,
and
an acceptance of people of who they are, and being able to say from the get-go, am I staying or am I leaving? That's your choice.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for making time to watch our podcast. We are really happy. We are here at Malong Game Reserve, and we are really happy to be here. Thank you so much. See you in the next podcast episode.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to us. We really appreciate it. This is the Makwanas Podcast, and it's our episode number 4.
Yes.
Yeah, episode number 4. So we are just grateful, man. See you next time. It's a bye for now.
All right.